Hello everybody, happy Saturday. So I'm just gonna get right into it here. I'm just gonna tell you right up front, there's gonna be some people that love what I have to say and support it, and there's gonna be some other people that are gonna be ticked off and mad because I am speaking what I believe to be the truth. And thankfully we live in the United States, and as of right now we still have that right to speak out our freedom of speech. I can say what I believe, and that is in my right to do. So I'm just gonna say right now, if you don't like it, I still love you. I hope you love me, but that doesn't seem to be the case a lot of times anymore. People have tended to forget that. And I just want to say, a lot of these people that, are claiming, oh, if you don't wear a mask, you don't care about people. Anybody that knows me knows I will bend over backwards. I do anything for anybody. So me not wearing a mask has nothing to do with whether I love you or don't love you. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it here. One of the things, whenever you're posting things, everybody gets their own facts and this fact and that fact, and everybody's saying, well, though that website or that quote you did wasn't accurate. So I tried to make sure that anything I say comes from something accurate. So the first thing is from the Navy Times. So to me, the Navy Times seems a pretty credible source of information to use. The Navy ship was sent in April. And the reason it was sent in was for New York City. And everybody knows New York was hardest hit, and everybody's freaking out because all the hospitals were filled to capacity. They couldn't handle all of it. Everybody's dying. I mean, it's just horrible, horrible, horrible. That's all you heard, all those horror stories. So in April, the USNS Comfort, and this is a quote, was sent in to provide relief to frontline healthcare providers, and each patient brought aboard ensured one more bed was available in local hospital. So this was the Vice Admiral Andrew Lewis, commander of the U.S. Second Fleet. So April 6th is when they arrived, after extensive layout reconfiguration to properly cordon off the coronavirus ward from the rest of the vessel. Well, here's the interesting thing. This 1,200 person crew, 1,000 bed hospital, because they were prepared for the worst. I mean, that's what everybody was hearing. Guess how many people they treated? They treated 182 people. But of those, only approximately, is what they said, 70% actually had COVID. Actually had COVID-19. And this was according to Captain Patrick Amersbach. So, FEMA spokesman quoted, "We are encouraged by the data, which suggests the curve is flattening in New York." Flattening in New York. This is in April, when everything was supposed to be horrible. Pentagon spokesman Jonathan Hoffman added that the Comfort departure, quote, is a sure sign of modest progress in mitigating the virus in the nation's hardest hit city. And all this is dated April 30th, 2020. So if you go to the CDC, which again, people that want to argue everything, CDC seems to be, I don't consider it credible because I think their numbers are skewed a little bit, but we'll go with their data. July 17th, if you look at their breakdown, 1,084 cases per 100,000 people of coronavirus. So that is approximately 1% of the population has had coronavirus. Total cases in the U.S. this entire year, from January 21st through July 17th, 3,555,877 cases. So that's the total number of cases. And you could probably say it's an approximate because, yes, there are people that had it and didn't get tested because they just figured they had the flu. Not so much from January 21st, but more prior to that. There were some cases. But, there are people that just thought they had the flu and didn't get tested, so the numbers could be higher. But also, how many people do we know that have said that they had a positive test and then turned around, no symptoms, a couple days later, it was negative? And how many people do we know too? I've heard stories where they got registered because they had to take this test for whatever reason. They got registered, waited in line for hours and hours and hours, got tired of waiting, went home. Next thing they know, they get a letter in the mail saying they tested positive and they never even actually got the test. So these numbers are off a little bit either way, but this is an approximate 3,555,877 cases. All right, let's go back to 2009. You guys remember what the big scare was then? H1N1. Again, everybody was going to die. The government was preaching to everybody, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you have breathing issues, respiratory issues, if you're a child, if you're elderly, if you're pregnant, you better get vaccinated or you're going to get this H1N1 and you're going to die. Again, playing fear, playing fear, playing fear. So from April 2009 to October 2009, the CDC estimates about 22 million people. 22 million. From April 2009 to October 2009. 22 million people. But yet, they're telling us that the 3,555,000 that have COVID, they're making it sound like it's 100 times worse. They're freaking everybody out. So what is the government doing? They're playing into the fear. They're telling everybody, this is horrible. This is the worst thing we've ever seen. Everybody's going to die. And if you look at the death rate isn't any different. There's not that many people actually dying when you look at the percentages compared to percentages of H1N1 and other things. But so that's what they do. They play on the fear. They play on the fear. Shut everything down. Keep everybody at home. Don't let people socialize with each other. Separate people from each other. So that's the first thing you do. You get on that fear. But you know what? That's not what the Bible teaches. That's not what my God teaches. My God does not tell me to live in the spirit of fear. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. How many people right now do not have a sound mind because they're freaking out? They're freaking out over everything. They're scared to walk outside. They're scared to walk in public. They're scared of everything. That is not a sound mind. Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Not the government. It doesn't say the government's going to be with you wherever you go. The Lord your God. The Lord your God. We have gotten so far away from this in our country. So far away from this. We have forgotten it is God that is in control, not the government. Not the government. God. It is God who is in control, and that is what we need to get back to. We need to get back to realizing that it is God who is in control of this country. Psalms 34:4, I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all of my fears. Romans 8:38-39, for I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, nor height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord. We're in a spiritual battle, people. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you've ever believed in anything like that before in your life, that's what this is. We are in a spiritual battle. The enemy is having his heyday. He has planted that spirit of fear, not only in people who have never known the Lord, but in everybody. He has planted the spirit of fear. He's planted the spirit of fear in people that have been Christians their entire life. They are now fearing. He's got division. Look at all the division going on right now. This started 4 years ago when all the riots started and people were going after cops. At that time, the spirit of division started then, the spirit of hate and anger. It all started then. And it's just inflamed again now. And now they've got something else to add to it. Go back to the Holocaust. We've forgotten the Holocaust because it didn't affect us. It didn't affect our generation. So we forgot about it. Start reading stories about the Holocaust. Read some stories about that. Read stories about how people were packed in the boxcars like sardines. They had to ride with their hands straight up over their heads. Packed in tight. Couldn't move. The fumes coming from the floors, the chemicals that was on the floors of the boxcars burnt the bottoms of their feet. They had to ride for hours that way. The fumes came up and burnt their eyes, their nose, their lungs. They were puking. They couldn't breathe. They rode for hours, sometimes days like that. Nothing to eat or drink. They were urinating and defecating on themselves. How did it get to that point? Ask yourself, how did it get to that point? How did Hitler get that control to where people willingly got on those cars? They were told they were going to better working conditions. They believed because they were conditioned to believe. They were conditioned to believe that the government was going to take care of them. People, our minds are being conditioned. You better guard your mind. You better guard your mind on what it's being conditioned to believe. Because your mind is either being conditioned to believe what is of God or what is of the enemy. And you better think long and you better think hard. And give up this crap of your stubbornness and your pride. This has nothing to do with left or right. It has nothing to do with Republic or Democrat. This has to do with God and the enemy. This is exactly what this has to do with. So you better think long and hard. Who is it you're listening to? Which voice is it you're listening to? Ask yourself. Ask yourself these questions. Hitler gradually gained control. He used fear. He convinced the general public he had their well-being in mind. He was going to take care of them. Sound familiar? He finally declared an emergency decree, suspending civil liberties. He suspended freedom of the press, freedom of expression, the right to hold public assemblies. He didn't want people socializing, because then they could tell each other the truth about what was really happening. He isolated. Isolated. It's exactly what's going on. Isolation. And control. Control. The mandatory mask. The boxes of disposable masks, people, read them. The disposable masks even tell you they will not provide protection against COVID-19. Mayo Clinic. Look up on the Mayo Clinic. See what it has to say about the cloth mask. May reduce the spread, but here's what you have to do. They need to be multiple layers of fabric. Wash or sanitize your hands before and after putting on or taking off your mask. Don't touch it while wearing it, and if you do, you need to wash and sanitize your hands immediately. If it becomes wet or dirty, switch to a new one. Put that one in a resealable bag until you wash it. When you take your mask off, make sure to remove it by the earpieces without touching the front of the mask or your face. Nobody does that. I mean, okay, maybe there's a few, but I guarantee the majority of people are not doing that. And there's no way you're going to make a kid not touch their mask. I mean, my goodness. Look at how many adults touch a mask. I saw a study, this was before COVID-19 even came about. I don't remember, it was like, anyhow, it was A Good Mythical Morning, or I don't even remember which show it was. But anyhow, they just did an experiment. They went into an elementary classroom with, and they dusted a bunch of stuff. Or that's what it was. They dusted the teacher's hands, and they dusted one or two students' hands. And they didn't tell anybody else in the class. And, it was a dust that nobody could see. But it was a dust that the black light could pick up later. And it was amazing when they turned the black light on at the end of the day, everything that had that dust on it, all over everybody's faces, because we touch our face constantly. So you can't tell me that people that are wearing these masks aren't touching their mask. And if they are, that they're washing their hands afterwards and changing the mask immediately afterwards. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. And the disposable mask, according to that, we would be needing biohazard trash cans everywhere, because the germs are on those masks, and we should be disposing of them properly. You walk down the street, you see them laying around everywhere. They're just laying there. And according to Harvard, they did a study. This COVID-19 is closely related to COVID-2, which was the SARS that was out several years ago. So using that test, they're saying that COVID-19 can last in aerosols for 3 hours, but it can last on surfaces for 2 to 3 days. So that means someone touches their mask, according to all of this data, someone touches their mask, they've been coughing, they've been breathing, they've been talking, whatever, those germs are there, because according to this, that mask isn't actually helping a whole lot, because if they're saying that you need to wash your hands immediately, and you need to change your mask if it gets dirty, and you need to put it in a resealable bag. So they're saying if you touch that mask and you need to wash your hands immediately, what they're saying is when you touch that mask, those germs are on your hand. Then you touch a surface, and it'll last on that surface for 2 to 3 days. So you go to the store, anything you touch that somebody else has touched, mask isn't doing anything. The mask isn't doing anything, people. It's not. It is not doing what everybody is told it is doing. It is just another way for the government to put fear and control in our minds. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with rebelling against authority. The people that are not liking this, it's because they see through it. They see through it. They remember what Hitler did. But you know what? Here's the thing. We were not created to be isolated. We were created to be sociable. We were designed for human touch. We were designed for human interaction. You know, it's bad enough that everybody walks around with their phone in their face and that we don't interact with each other as it is. We've already gotten away from social interaction so much. But now, I hate walking around. And, sorry, that glare started annoying me. But I absolutely hate walking around. Everybody's got these masks on. And this is all you see. You don't see any expression. That's it. All these expressionless faces. All these expressionless faces. There's nothing. No interaction. You can tell so much by a person's face. But all these masks, no social interaction. No social interaction at all. And then you get people staying at home, isolating again. All they can do, listen to the media. Just get fed. So you choose what you're going to get fed by. And you know, I hate what it's doing to the communities, to our America. It is separating us. It's dividing us. We've got all of this hate going on, all these riots. There's one thing to protest when something is being done wrong to somebody. And I wholeheartedly, yes, what was done was wrong. And yes, there are people in authority that should not be in authority, and they should be disciplined. But the riots, that's a different story. That is just pure anger and hatred. Our country's being divided on so many different levels. So many different levels. Our country's being divided. But what I hate the most right now that's going on with this whole thing with COVID-19 and this fear that's being played into people's minds. A few things. One, it's taken our mind and our focus off of so many other things going on. Look at all these pedophile cases right now. Look at all the sex trafficking going on right now. Nobody's paying any attention to that. There's so many other things going on to the side, and we're so focused on this COVID-19, we're not even looking at what's going on the side, on everything else, on any of these other issues. We're not even paying attention to any of these other issues. How many people paid attention to what just happened with Wayfair? Nobody's paying any attention. Those stories are like, here one day, gone the next. Nobody's paying attention to those. And then you can't even interact with your own family. I've got grandkids that I have not seen in months. I've got to FaceTime them. I got to FaceTime my grandchildren. That is so wrong. So wrong. The issue itself is dividing families. The issue itself has families mad at each other. Has families furious with each other. Has families divided on just the issue itself. This is so wrong. And what about these people that have to go to the hospital for surgeries, that have life-threatening issues, that are dying, and they were in there by themselves. Now they're gradually letting one person be in there. But how many people were scared and had to be in there by themselves? And look at all the people in nursing homes. I've got a 92-year-old grandma, and unless I wear a mask, I can't even see her. How many people in nursing homes have died alone and without another touch, without another kiss on the cheek? This is wrong. This is so wrong. We need to be reaching out to each other. We need to be hugging each other. We need to hug our families, our grandchildren. We need to get back to the basics. We need to get back to where parents had that authority, not the government. The government didn't tell everybody what to do. Parents had that authority. Parents taught morals and ethics and values. Parents made the decisions for their families. They didn't let the government make the decision for everybody. So I am just so frustrated with all of it. So frustrated with all of it. And it boils down to, we need to get our hearts right. We need to get our hearts right, and we need to choose who we're going to believe and what we're going to believe. Because this is not going to get any better until this gets better. This has to get better before this gets better. So, I just wanted to put that out there. That is where I'm at. That is why I am so frustrated. Because people are not seeing all of this. They're not seeing the underlying what's going on. They're only seeing the surface. People need to take the blinders off, open their eyes, open their hearts, see what's really going on. So, like I said, I know I'm going to have some supporters. I know I'm going to have some people that don't like what I'm saying. But I'm speaking from my heart. And that's something that I've learned. You're not going to please all the people all the time. But I've learned, as long as it's something that I feel I'm doing the best for me and my family, you know, and I'm going to respect you. I'm not going to treat you any different. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with you, but I'm not going to treat you any different. So I just had to get this out there. All right. I love all of you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye.